Pixelplay Ventures weekly Clubhouse session. Just to recap, Pixelplay Ventures and Magic is now running Global Market Fit Program USA, where 10 eligible Malaysian startups were selected to participate in a 9-week accelerator program
Recording in progress.
in expanding business in the United States. And starting from last week, we will feature 2 startups each week from GMP USA Cohort 1 in our Clubhouse session, merely to share their entrepreneurship journey with us. Welcome again for those who have just joined us in Clubhouse. I can see a couple of familiar names here. Malam, happy Saturday. Welcome to Clubhouse. And for your information, this Clubhouse session is also streamed live in Pixelplay Ventures YouTube page. Therefore, though for those who are not familiar with Clubhouse or by any means unable to join us tonight in Clubhouse, you can also view the live stream in Pixelplay Ventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like the videos in our channel for support, yeah? All right, let's go. Tonight, we are continuing with series 2 of our Entrepreneurship Founder Story series. Together with us, we have Yong Tan from BiiB on my left, I think, or far left in YouTube channel, if you can view, as well as Jesrina from PurelyB. Not forgetting also my PPP partners, Abami and Bron are here today with us tonight. Good evening, Yong. Good evening, Jesrina, Abami, Bron.
Evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Right. Well, a quick introduction of our founders before we let them share their journey with us. I'll start with Yong first. Despite ladies first. Sorry, Jess. Yong Tan. He is the founder of BiiB, a social running app started back in 2017. I personally like their motto, which is BiiB, Together We Run, where everyone can host their own community running challenge. So BiiB is all about an app built for runners. The statistics for BiiB is indeed quite mesmerizing. Since its inception back in 2017, BiiB has a total of 67,000 users with about 2,000 teams created and a total of 3,822,777 activities recorded, and also a recorded distance ran of 26 million, which is equivalent to 6 times running around the sun. Well, I'll keep my both feet here safe on earth. You guys do the running around the sun. I'm not going to do that. And Hong as well attended University of Malaya. He was also featured in various magazines and platforms, including Generation.Asia, Vulcan Post, Digital News Asia, The Edge Markets, and Kita Malaysia. All right, I'll let Hong do the detailed introduction later. And next, the only thorn among the roses here tonight, Jesrina. Jesrina Arashad is the founder of PurelyB, which is Asia's #1 health and wellness digital lifestyle brand and community platform. Their tagline is transforming traditional Asian herbs and wellness remedies for modern consumers worldwide. Since its inception 6 years ago, PurelyB was envisioned to be a one-stop solution for nutrition, fitness, and also wellness. Jesrina attended Kingston University and she has been featured in Glam Magazine, Marie Claire Malaysia, Clio Malaysia, and Female Mag Malaysia. I hope I have done justice for both of you, Jess and Xiong. Without
Thank
further
you,
ado,
Sharon.
Thank you.
let's start the evening with Xiong first. Xiong, can you tell us more on your startup journey? I know you were an engineer before, a technical engineer to be
Yes.
exact. How it all started, and it is such an intriguing story to learn about an engineer turned startup founder. Do enlighten us, Xiong.
Um, yeah, thank you, Sharon. So, it can of course, it's not like a overnight transition. So I started, let's say I'm actually being trained as a electronic engineer. So in my early career, I worked for South Korean companies. So we design embedded system, or nowadays you all call it IoT or Internet of Things. So yeah, I was electronic engineers that design all those things, electronic circuit board, sensor system, and things like that. But again, if want to trace back on my sports side, most people started a sporting business not because they wanted to earn a lot of money. Most people started with their love in sports, and I mean that backtrack to my early days in school. I was a track and field athlete. Then of course in my college time, one of my friend, he actually kind of like racun me, poison me, saying that, hey, you should actually run a marathon no matter what. It's like, a once a lifetime kind of opportunity. You actually should do it since you are so active. So, after thinking about that, seems like what he said was true. Why not give it a try? And this is how I started running. And yeah, so I did my first, as I mean, looking at all other people, normally we start small, some fun runs, 10 kilometers, half marathons, and then marathons, and then we, go all over the places. Like I actually traveled to run in Korea, Singapore, Australia. So that basically get me to, kind of step into this industry, the whole new kind of sports industry that previously not really kind of exists in Malaysia market. Yeah, so we can see how runners are being motivated, why are they so into it, and that kind of give me some ideas. Hey, this thing can actually go super super big because um, I used to say running is contagious. I'm actually being pulled in by my friend, and there are so many runners out there actually experience the same thing as I am. So I was thinking like, okay, so since running is like this, and we started with a small group of friends, but after that, since we all started working, working in different places, we kind of disconnected ourselves, and people grow, they gain weight, they don't run anymore. All these are because of their kind of, something like a social pressures or peer pressure, that kind of thing. So that happened to me myself. So when, I mean, during the first few years and when I was started working, I kind of run lesser because no motivations, no kaki, nobody asks you out for a run. And that is kind of um, like a hint to me, like how can we make running interesting? How can we make running more connected? Even though people are being, separated in different places, but you are from the same communities. You work from the same company, you graduated from the same school, you know each other's. But because you are, having different timing, you are working different places, you can run together. That's why that gave us an idea like, let's do something about it. And yeah, so kind of, fast track forward, we created this mobile app. Initially, we actually do it something like a wearable devices that make running interactive. But because of the, I would say, yeah, that is also because of my engineering background, because we design electronics. So we design like a wearable device to make running interesting. But the
I just
time, due
I
to
just
the
have to
production
ask.
cost,
Sorry, Shah, I
yeah.
just have to ask. So you didn't get the idea of doing this app while
Hmm.
running,
Yes.
not during one of those runs.
Not during that run. So it's basically like solving my own issues, and also, by observing what is happening in the market, why people drop off, why people get disconnected, and why people need a group of people to actually keep them going. So,
Mm-hmm.
the African proverbs, they always say, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And that is the reason behind why we do BiiB.
Cool, cool. So that's your story. But out of the many places that you've been and many marathon or running events, which were really a huge trend pre-COVID, I'm very sure you have not gone to the sun, right? As per what's stipulated in your
Of
in your
course
slide.
not. I'm still here. I'm alive.
It's always good to actually aim big. Let's try to run to the sun. But again, you guys just go ahead. I won't follow. Thank you. Okay, I'll go to Jess now. Jess, you're pretty much in the corporate or private sector prior to your startup, yeah? I mean,
Yeah.
for example, between 2012 till, sorry, yeah, 2012 till 2015, you were the assistant vice president of digital marketing in Astro.
That's right. Yeah.
In fact, we missed each other by about 12 years because I did my 3 months or 4 months of practical internship at Astro back then. I can't
Oh
really
my
remember.
God.
Yeah, it was year 99 or 2000. I really can't
In
recall.
which department?
The department was called MIT. I think it's no
Oh,
longer there. Yeah, level one,
yeah.
if I do remember correctly. But what I did was pretty much technical, clamping RJ45 cables, setting up the
Oh,
system for
right.
Yeah, it's the same area as what's the name of the division again? The one that runs Roda Impian. Yeah, those guys.
Oh God, I can't remember.
Yeah, and the guy he was like sitting 3 tables away from me. And never mind. Nevertheless, nevertheless,
Small world, small
no,
world. Yes.
yeah. Nevertheless, after Astro, you
Mm,
started your own venture, which is PurelyB Sundaram Bahar, and
yeah.
just like Yong, never looked back ever since. So tell us your story, how it got all started.
Yeah, so I definitely, came from a corporate world. I started in digital agencies, from creative agencies to media agencies. I was in Mindshare, and then I was heading digital marketing at Astro. I never thought I was going to do my own business. It wasn't a plan. And it was sort of an epiphany moment that hit me that I had to do it. So what had happened was, for a very long time, this is like 10, 12 years ago, I had always suffered from health issues, and not chronic, not anything I needed to be hospitalized for, but it wasn't comfortable. So like every 2 days I would be getting migraines. I had very bad digestive issues. I would get eczema and rashes, and I was always tired all the time. And because I was always getting migraines, I was also nauseous all the time. So for me, at one point I thought it's because I'm working so hard. I'm always working. I'm not sleeping. And that's why I'm tired. That's why I'm feeling this way. I thought it was normal. And then I did a test with a natural health doctor, and found out that actually my body had developed allergies and intolerances to gluten, dairy, egg, wheat, and shellfish. And my reactions to this is what was causing the migraines, the digestive issues, and so on. But I wasn't born with these allergies. I never had these allergies. But my lifestyle and my diet was so toxic growing up and up until that point that my body developed these intolerances, and it's basically like crying out for help. And I needed to make a change. And what was very difficult at the time was, what is gluten? Who knows what gluten is 12 years ago, right? So how do you eliminate all of this? So the
What is
natural
gluten,
doctor
by the way?
said,
What is
sorry, what?
gluten? What is gluten? I don't know.
It's a component in wheat. So if you eat
Wheat,
any wheat, so if you
as in
eat pasta,
WEED.
breads, all gluten.
No,
If
wheat as in WEED. Wheat. Iguana.
No, WHEAT, wheat,
Ah, all
wheat.
right.
Yeah,
If
Sharu,
it's
what are
wheat,
you thinking?
I can eliminate, no problem.
Okay. Just to be politically correct, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so it was very difficult for me to do so. So you fast forward. So I couldn't. I tried, but I couldn't give up the food that I love. And we're Malaysians. We love eating. We need to enjoy life. And I can barely eat anything I can't sustain. And so come 2015, years later, I actually stumbled across some blogs, and these were from, and books, and these were written from, I would say, health icons in the UK and the US, all from the Western world, who overcame cancer and chronic diseases just by changing their diet and their lifestyle to be natural. And they cut out gluten, dairy, egg, everything that I couldn't eat. They had eliminated it because these were a lot of causes to diseases like dairy and processed foods. So I learned a lot from that, and I took what I learned from there, adapted it to my lifestyle in Asia, which was very difficult to do. I needed like a month of research and planning to do that and find substitutes here in Asia that they didn't have, what they were recommending in the US and so on. And when I did that, the first week of all the diet changes and lifestyle changes I made, lunch, dinner, and so on, and I don't cook, and I actually cooked because it was so easy to make like healthy chocolate cake and all that stuff. And when I did it, all of my symptoms went away. No migraines, my rashes had cleared up, no nausea, my digestion was regular. So it was almost like a shocking revelation that I couldn't ignore, that all I needed to do, because I had seen doctors before for my issues, nothing helped, nothing worked. And it was really like, it's your lifestyle. it's your lifestyle and your diet. And I looked at Asia, and there wasn't a single brand or platform that was advocating healthier lifestyles to help people overcome health issues. And so if it didn't exist, why don't I create it? Because if I can help someone the way I help myself, even if I help one person, to me it would be so fulfilling. But I couldn't do it alone. So then I teamed up with natural health doctors, nutritionists, who I knew through my sister, who is also a natural health doctor who trained in Australia. And when I got connected with them and shared the vision, they wanted to do it together, but they don't know digital. I know digital. I'm not a health expert. So we took our two expertise and combined it together to create PurelyB, and we all invested money and did it together. So I did that whilst I was at Astro, because it wasn't meant to be like a big business. It was meant to really be like a passionate, I want to help people, I want to empower sustainable healthy living. I don't know how people are going to take to this, but I see a huge gap in the market and nobody is doing this right now. And when we did it, it took off faster than we expected. Within 3 weeks, we gained 10,000 users through word of mouth, because we didn't have any money for marketing. And it just sort of spread. There was a lot of buzz on social media. And we got people writing in, even from Australia, thanking us for creating and what we were doing. And there were health experts from other markets asking if they can contribute. And then if they were credible, we would allow them to. And then slowly we generated like an international community and following, just like organically. So when that started to really pick up, like just within the first month, I knew I had to do it full time. Like I couldn't sustain my corporate work and doing this, and my heart was just like all in this now. So yeah, then I quit my job and did it full time.
This is interesting, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
both of you, Yong and Jesrina, you were both from the corporate and private sector. But one fine day, somehow, you guys started solely because of your personal pain points, and hence the decision to take the huge leap into the startup ecosystem and not moonlighting and doing it full time. It was, and it is indeed a huge risk from such a what I would call it as a comfort zone, getting your salary every month, regular pay, but jumping into those uncertainties, not knowing whether BiiB will do well, not knowing whether PurelyB will do well neither, despite the support that you were getting. It was a huge sea that you guys are, swimming onto. Share with us. I mean, how did you guys mitigated the risk, or it was just like grab it, let's just do it. Whatever happens, happens. I don't know. I mean,
Chiang,
this
do you
could
want to go first?
that, for those youngsters who are into entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
to help them and facilitate them in order to decide whether or not to go into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Chiang,
think
do you want to
Jess,
go
you can
first?
go first if
Oh,
you have something in mind
I
now.
do. I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what I did I feel was a calculated risk. So I think in entrepreneurship, we always have to take risks no matter what. Like nothing is for certain, but you can make a calculated risk. You can weigh out all the different aspects to know that it is worth the risk. So for me, as I mentioned, I didn't quit my job yet. I didn't put all my eggs into it and then build the skyscraper sort of business. No, I started small first. Like we just want to be an educational platform. The team, nobody got paid salaries. We all invested money into it. And I knew where my weaknesses were. And those were my co-founders and my partners. They were the health experts. And I was the one who brought in the digital expertise. So we knew all the components that we needed to make this work. And we weren't going to quit our jobs until we saw it gain traction and we saw the response. And I think that's something you always have to do. You always have to have a prototype or a pilot and test it out first. You know that you want this, but you don't know for certain the market wants this until you test it. That's the only way to know. So that's
Did
what
did,
sorry?
did Astro knew that you were moonlighting, or you did it indiscreet?
I didn't discreet because I just didn't sleep. So basically, because I work so hard at Astro, like I work like round the clock in Astro, and then after I'm done, and then I'll work on PurelyB. So I was just like, but it was okay. I was running on adrenaline, basically. Like you can't sleep anyway once you have that. Like I really need to do this sort of thing. But I also felt very passionate about my work at Astro, and I felt very committed to that. So I couldn't just drop and leave that either. So that's why, I'm like, I need to do the two. And then when I felt, okay, now I need to leave, I also made sure that I found a good replacement for me in Astro who could really do the job well. Because for me, like, I want to make sure that was taken care of. I'm not just going to go do my own thing. Like, so to me, that's really, really important, how you transition. And I guess the other thing for me as well is I made sure financially I was okay. If we don't make money for a year, will we be okay? Right? Because we're not going to give ourselves salaries. And so, and we don't have any other funding except to make the business work operationally. So, what are you going to do to pay bills and whatnot? So, what I actually did concurrently while I was doing PurelyB was I set up a digital marketing consultancy because that's my expertise in digital marketing, and I did that in Astro. So and I know a lot of people in the industry and whatnot, and so I set up that consultancy with me and one of my co-founders, Stephanie, who's also one of the top people in the digital media industry. And so together we knew a lot of people in the industry, and so when we set up the consultancy, we managed to get Bloomberg and a few other clients, and just a handful of those accounts gave us enough money to sustain us for the entire year. So for me, it's like leverage on your strengths to find ways to make money. You got to hustle ways to make money in other ways that's not connected to your business, right? Don't force your business to go down a monetization route that it probably isn't suitable for it just because you need money quick and fast. Like, you need to do that the right way. Find money in other ways so you don't feel burdened every day with what am I going to do with my money? What am I going to do about money? If you do that, you cannot make your business a success or really work because you're so distracted by financial problems. So yeah, that's what I'd like to share.
Thank you. Xiong, your thoughts?
I really like what Jesrina just said. It's a calculated risk. So what I did is I say similar but different. First of all, I wasn't in kind of like digital industry. I'm not in media. So what I did previously is just facing the computer doing coding or doing design. So before I transition into starting the business, I actually come up with the pre-launching plan, something like to get myself fine-tuned with my mindset, knowing what is coming up to us. I mean, expecting not getting salary for certain period of time. So all this, I mean, actually, first try, I fail. I give myself 1 year to come up with something, and 1 year without salary, I fail. So I actually went back to work. I went back to work, and yes, during that time when we are still R&D, designing our applications, that time most of us, me and my co-founder, we were still working. We are still having something on hands, and we actually take that time to fine tune our mindset, and also fine tune, get ourselves comfortable with the so-called uncertainties that coming out. So I think that is like a very valuable lesson and also journey for us, because I don't think sometimes when we read the news, a lot of people seems like, oh, they have overnight success in a short time period. Actually, those are kind of like a myth. They must have done something very helpful for their current startup or current companies. And I think we have to go through that period too, in order to actually learn the way to actually kickstart the product and launch it. So yeah, we buy time for ourselves. And one of the thing I'm personally very into is what happen if we fail. Actually, if you think back, right, if you fail, just go back to work. What's the big deal? So yeah, if we think it this way, we are like, okay, let's go all out. Worst case, we just go back. But we need to find our ways to move forward regardless what, because when we are so passionate, we are so into it, we don't want to fail. We'll try by all means make the company success. But if let's say it really, really bad thing happen, we fail, nothing nothing we can do, then we just go back to work. I think by going through that process, we learn more through our experience. We know more people. It basically can help us in our career as well. So there's nothing to lose.
It is interesting because you took the leap of faith once, hoping things will go green for you. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out well, and you had to come
Yes,
back and
yes.
work with the previous company. It was like a walk of shame, was it? How do you take it?
Actually, that is quite interesting because I didn't ask for that job. It's kind of like when I'm so down, things are not going well. Somebody just call me and say, "Hey, we have this position open. We'd like to come in." I was like thinking, maybe I need another round of funding to fund myself in order to, in order for BiiB to take off. So I said, why not? Since a lot of preparation is actually at the back end, not really like, your product is ready, you need to go out and hustle. So
Recording in progress.
I
I
just took
just took
the
the
opportunities, go
opportunities.
back to work, and yeah, restart after I got enough. Yeah.
Cool, thank you for that. In the meantime, yeah, we are getting more participants in Clubhouse. Welcome and good evening, guys. Tonight we have both Jesrina Arshad from PurelyB and Shiyong Tan from BiiB, two startups part of GMP USA Cohort 1. They will be sharing with us today their journey of their entrepreneurship, their highs and lows, etc. At the same time, while we are having this Clubhouse Clubhouse session, we are also streamed live in Pixelplay Ventures YouTube channel. So please do subscribe to our channel and watch our videos. Uh, Tell your friends. If you can't join us tonight, you can catch up later in our videos. If you have any questions, you want to participate in this session in Clubhouse, please raise up your hand. There's a small icon with a palm at the bottom of your screen. Press it. Our moderator will allow you in and you can ask questions. You can chit chat with us. You can share your experience if you want to. We do have a couple of founders here with us. Even the rest of the cohort 1 GMP USA are here. I see Harith from Green Carpenter. I see Sky, Nick from MoveB, Benny from CodeMax. Yeah, welcome and good evening, guys. Ari from Artwist as well. All right, so let's continue. Coming back to both you, Shiong and Jesrina, I'm very sure it is not always shiny and full of rainbow in your journey. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Abami, feel free to interject if you have anything you wanted to highlight. Yeah. Okay, Jess, Shiong, do you mind to share with us? Your fallouts. The challenges that you face and how you manage to overcome and move forward. The negative part of being an entrepreneur. You want to go first, Shiong?
Yeah. So I would say first challenge is always assemble your great team. Before you get things started, of course, I myself I'm an engineer, but you can just do that much. You need support from other people, other expertise, and other experience to basically get the product out, or even build the companies. So I would say building the team or starting a team itself is already a big challenge. You need to find the right people, right skill set, and we actually failed a few times. Starting our, not saying company, I would say initial team. So the founding team actually failed, I think, two times. First time is like, oh, we don't know who to find because that time I was just into the industry for a few years, don't get to know a lot of good people out there. So we assembled like a very loose team to get things done, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. Then after that, through introductions and whatnot, we kind of get the first product out. But again, when you have more people to get things done, sometimes shit happen. Everybody have different expectations, and when things not align, we have to kind of discuss. Okay, so now we are going here. You think we should go the other side? Then we kind of like need to make a decision. Okay, so maybe better if we parted away. Like for those who believe in this, we should continue. But for those who are not, I think it's better to leave. So we actually have to make that kind of decision. I would say it's a very hard decision. It's an emotional one to basically keep moving without your previous teammate, and you have to find new people to join in and keep this product, keep this company moving. So I think that is the first big challenge we have.
So many may not be necessarily good, and running a
Yes.
startup, what's the optimum number that you would advise for those who wish to, start a startup?
I don't have a magic number, but what I would say is, get things done with minimum number of people. If you can get things done with just two, why not? If you can get things done with three, I think it's fine as well. But not getting things done with like a corporate, you need 100 people or 50 people. I don't think is doable. Yeah.
I'm
So,
interested to ask how
mm,
you manage to basically, in a harsh way, oust people out. The sad part it was you mentioning earlier. That's
yeah.
always the saddest part. How do you manage that?
Um, Sometimes I would say when things getting misaligned, we kind of like expecting that to happen. So, of course, as a co-founder or as a engineer turned entrepreneur, you have this issue like, okay, how should we deal with this? And how we deal with it is actually, I would say, we actually did it quite late, meaning to say things already gone haywire. We already like not liking the way each other doing. So I think that is a bit too late. If I can repeat it again, of course, hope to have a more proper, direct conversation, honest conversations to actually, because this is good for both sides. Because when
It's
the
always
visions misalign, yeah.
Sure, it's not always easy to tell someone straight to the face, hey, dude, you're not really performing well. We are not aligned anymore. We don't like you. We have a replacement for you. Can you please go? We need to replace you. We need to move forward. It's not really easy to
Mhm.
say those kind of things.
Oh, it's really hard. It's really hard. And we didn't manage it well, to be honest. The time actually took us quite a while to resolve this. But of course, if I can repeat it again, I think we should learn how to actually open up the conversation. It's a really eye-opening thing. You have
You
to
have
go
to
through
go through
that
that
because
because
if you
if you
don't,
don't,
this will
this
come
will
back
come back
anytime
anytime
soon
soon.
because you can't talk to people in a very direct and at the same time being very, very respectful and get them to buy in because end of the day this supposed to be beneficial to everybody. It shouldn't be like one side is doing the work, the other side is not, or one side is wanted to go to this direction, the other one they want to go the other direction. This doesn't work.
Yeah, but the thing is, we are Asian. We can't run away from our DNA, our Asian DNA of being polite, rendah diri. You say things very subtly. It's not very direct as those, the Americans and the
Yeah,
Europeans.
yeah.
I'm sure it was difficult. So it is still a challenge for you, I guess.
It is, but I think I'm now much better. You need to basically learn through the failures. You need to went through it. Then you will learn from the lesson. If you don't do it now, if you don't learn how to do it, it will come to curse you again, in the near future.
Open communication is not really a norm in our, in our culture,
Society, yeah, yeah.
society. Yeah. Jesrina, did you had that issues that you faced when you started 6 years ago?
Oh yeah, for sure. So many issues.
Share
And definitely share this. Sorry.
positive one. Share with us the negative ones only. We all know everything positive so far. We
No,
want to know how to
issues means
stop.
negative. Issues definitely means negative. Um, in terms of what Shiyong said, I completely agree. Actually, I think the biggest challenge is people management. I think consistently throughout the 6 years, that has always been the biggest issue. I think one of the biggest learnings that I gained as well was not to grow too fast too soon. And that echoes the sentiment of what Shiyong said about, like keeping the team small. I think when we had our first round of funding, our seed round, because we could finally pay salaries, that feeling like now we can finally pay salaries. It's like now we can build the team that we've always wanted to build. And you can get caught up in that. And it's you don't need that team. You don't need all those resources to be able to achieve that certain goal. And at the same time, we hadn't found the monetization sweet spot yet for our business. So it wasn't like we were making millions in revenue and then now let's build our dream team to be able to keep that going. We hadn't found the right monetization channel, and we weren't monetizing properly at the time because that wasn't our core focus. Our core focus was community, of really educating people on wellness and bringing the community together. So in doing so, we weren't focused on monetizing because we wanted to build trust and relationships first, not sell products to people. We're health and wellness. Like, you really need to trust us. And only a year down the line were we then planning to monetize and then launch like the marketplace model and whatnot. But we hadn't reached that point yet. We were about to start that point of building that marketplace, building out that monetization channel, and then we hired the team, and it was a pretty big team. I think it was about 20 people, and even though that doesn't seem like a lot, it is a lot if you haven't yet found your monetization sweet spot yet. And so for me, I think one of the learnings is really don't build a big team unnecessarily unless you know that you really need each team member and you know how each of them individually can contribute to the company's growth and revenue, because you need to be a sustainable business. And I think at that time when we were just like less than a year old, the startup ecosystem was very different. The startup mindset at the time was not about profitability, was not about sustainability. At the time, it was about really fast growth. I don't know if you guys remember, like back in 2015, it was all about like how fast can you grow, how many users do you have, how many downloads do you have, and people never talked about how much revenue did you generate, are you profitable, and investors didn't even care about it back then. So it was a very, very different mindset. And then 2 years after that, suddenly everything switched. Come 2017, 2018, then they're like, okay, are you profitable, are you sustainable, da, 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 da. Like everything turned around. So it was very interesting for us to have been on that entire journey in the last 6 years on how the whole ecosystem and the industry had changed as well. So we had a lot of learnings from that, and our team right now is the leanest that it's ever been, but we're also profitable and we're also generating revenue to the level that we've been wanting to achieve before. And it didn't make sense. Why did we need such a big team back then? So I think that's something that founders, especially early stage founders, first time entrepreneurs like myself and Yong, like we can get caught up in that, and not focus on what's really, really needed, like the bare minimum that's needed for your company to be able to hit the next stage. Like, take it step by step and not try and build a skyscraper straight away. So that was one of the challenges. Sorry.
Don't aim for the sun like Xiong. He wants to go and run in the sun. And yeah, I mean, Xiong
Yeah.
team for the past 5 years, it was changed, or selling Kulit twice, 2 times. You mentioned that, right? So
Yes.
for the past 6 years, how many times you changed your team? You had to change it before you find the right combination, the right formula, the right numbers. Jess?
Sorry.
I mean, Xiong did mention earlier,
Yes.
for the past years, he changed his team twice, 2 times
Oh.
before he get it right. Before he managed to get it right. So for you, for the past
Ooh, that's tough to actually
6,
pinpoint,
how
like,
many times?
well, let's see. It's hard for me to pinpoint like how many times per se, because it's
Mhm.
just it's like a gradual evolution. I don't know if you know what I mean, right? But if
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I know
but
that.
what I would base it on is how many times we pivoted the business model. Because when you pivot the business model, the kind of team members you need also changes. So if I base it on that, then I would say three times.
Almost the same. I mean, how do you manage the communication with the team or ex team?
It's tough. I mean, honestly, one of the things that I faced challenges wise wasn't just about communication when you had to let someone go, or when I think what I found in a lot of the cases wasn't really just letting them go because the roles had changed, but it was they weren't performing. And it's so, because I think, I don't know if this is a woman entrepreneur trait or whatnot, like, you know, you have a lot of empathy and so on. You want to give a lot of chances. Because I know a lot of my peers, the male founders, I don't know, Yong, if you're this way, but I know quite a few of the others, like they're very cutthroat. You're not performing within a week, you're out, right?
Wow.
But for me, I can't do that. Like I have to give like them a chance and train them and guide them, and you know what I mean, like, so that's, I found that tough because you build for me, building a family culture in the company, no matter how what your growth is like, is very, very key. And that was one of the challenges that I faced as we grew. Once we got seed funding, and then we had targets we needed to hit to meet the investors requirements and all of that, it was tough to balance stakeholder demands and family culture and happiness in the company, like getting a balance between the two, because obviously as you raise funds and as you grow, it's like you have huge targets that you want to hit, and you're growing very fast at a fast pace. How do you manage the team's happiness and the culture, all that within the company at the same time? You're stretched so much. So that was one of the things that I faced challenges wise, in addition to having to ease someone into letting them go. But because I usually only let them go if they're not performing, and usually that's why we have to pivot. You pivot the business because the business model obviously isn't working, and that means they're not performing. So it's justified, like, but at the same time it's painful because you've built a bond with them. So the emotional part is hard to manage, but business wise it makes sense and they get that. Yeah.
Eventually, things are just purely business, right?
Yeah,
Nothing.
and I think what's important is about maintaining relationships and how you do it. And I think because I don't do it in the cutthroat way, and I give chances and all that, I think that softens the blow style, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, recently I've, because BiiB is all about teamwork, so we create team spirit among the communities. So we actually, ourselves, we also need to learn about teamwork, how to actually make it works. So one way to look at it, recently I'm very into like reading how to build a successful team. So there are people saying that we look at team more like a sports team. So again, I bring in back sports. So it's that you need the minimum number of players to win the championship, and you put the best players in their best position. So I think that is like the core philosophy behind our current team right now. We wanted to make sure we have the best players in the best positions for them to perform. If they don't perform, what happened in the sports team is we either change their position, let them try other position, or they need to be out. We need a better players to help us to win the championship. Yeah, so that's basically like how we look at it right now.
Cool. Actually, I
I
wanted to ask.
actually have one more thing that I wanted to add. I
Go
think
ahead.
one of the learnings also about building the team is one thing that I learned from me, and it might not work for everyone, but is to not hire super senior people or senior people. At
I
least
agree.
not, yeah, at least not when you're still in early stage, sort of like you need to grow very fast, because everyone needs to pull their weight. Everyone needs to be able to do the nitty gritty, and do no task is too small for anyone, the founder, no one. But when you bring in someone senior, first of all, they expect high salaries, and second of all, they don't want to do the menial work. They want to do the strategy, they want to do that kind of work, and you can't have that when you're still a startup. You need to have everyone who's really treating this like, I'll do everything that's needed. And I learned that the hard way, and now it's more about hire junior people with great attitude. You can always train them. Attitude can't be taught, and so that's something that I always focus on, just the attitude. And it's not really about the experience. I can groom them and build the experience together, and they can become the leaders in the company. And that's what I've done, and I felt a huge difference in the business in a positive way by doing that approach.
this is
Totally
interesting
agree
because
on that.
really interesting because in Clubhouse you guys can only listen to our voices. Yeah, I mean before I forget, if you guys have any question and want to participate in the chat, please do not feel free to raise your hands. We'll admin you in and let's have a chat together. But just when you mentioned about do not hire super senior or seasoned people in your startup. Because first, they would ask for high pay. They would not do the nitty gritty part, the dirty work of the startup, chores. Those who are following our Pixelplay Ventures YouTube channel, they can actually see who are online. Myself, Yong, Jesrina, and Abang Amir. Talking about senior, Abang Amir is a senior person because those who are watching YouTube, you can see rambut dia semua putih dah. So, you know, so Abang Amir, uh, over to you. Your thoughts from whatever being mentioned by both Yong and Jesrina earlier, having a senior person in a startup. It's not really the best thing that can happen, with all due respect.
Obviously, there are exceptions.
Yeah, Jesrina, I hear you. Abame, you're muted. Hold on, cannot hear you.
How about
All
now?
right. Yes, yeah. What say
Okay,
you?
okay. Okay, thanks for raising it up. I just scratched PurelyB, don't apply. I just scratched. So unfortunately,
No,
all right. I think it's more attitude rather than the
that's true.
age. I think to be fair to people like me, it's not that I'm saying I have great attitude, but I think there are a lot of people who do things just for the love of doing things. Um, there was a movie. Oh, I keep going back to movies. I hate this. There was a movie called siapa ni? Uh, ah,
Bron, bukan Bron,
no, bukan. There was a movie Apprentice. Apprentice.
Apprentice.
Yeah,
Okay.
a fashion house having to
Dustin Hoffman.
recruit.
Oh, the
No.
Dustin
intern.
The intern.
Hoffman.
Sorry, the
Oh, I
intern.
love that
Okay.
The
movie. No,
intern.
Right.
that
So
was a great film.
Just now,
Yeah,
how could you have that? I made that comment just now when you just love a movie like that. So okay,
because
Friendship
unfortunately
that
that was
comment.
my experience. Unfortunately,
okay,
I had to learn the hard way,
all
and
right.
I had to. The senior
So
people are not like super senior in a sense, right? I think you're right. It's attitude. It's
it's
attitude
attitude.
for sure. I think it was just my luck. The senior people who applied for my positions, as much as they showed they were passionate and whatnot, yes, but passion has a limit. I'm still not going
Okay,
to do X, Y, Z,
okay.
right?
So now I can put back my name, huh?
Yes, please.
All right. But I think there was an interesting comment you made, which I jotted down just now. But going back to determination and when you first started up, I think both of you, Shiyong mentioned something similar to this. You were talking about, both of you planned for the next step. You made sure you had a backup plan. Shiyong obviously said that he always can work back. So, okay, that's a plan to me as well. Jesrina made sure she can survive a long runaway, at least 1 year, right, before you actually embark. Now, for people who are interested into, the phrase is jump into things, right? Right. So, would you have done it if you did not have a backup plan like that? I mean, would you have said, "Oh, to hell, I think I'll give this a shot. What's the worst that can happen? I'll just get up if I fall." Right. So, both of you, would you have done it without a backup plan in place?
So yes, I think it depends on how high you wanted to jump out from. So if let's say you are going for like skydiving, of course my co-founder is here. He's Sky. He loves skydiving. So if you're going to jump out from the plane without a proper planning, you will die. You won't just fall. You don't just break your leg or what. You will die. So depending on what you want to do, what you wanted to do. Some people they wanted to earn some extra incomes, starting some small business while working. That's totally fine. You just jump into that without much planning. You just like try to sell it. If let's say it works, it works. You generate income for you. But if you are wanted, like saying, oh, next day I want to build Grab. I got, some people wanted to help me. I just quit my job today, tomorrow I will start this. Then I'm sure perhaps not everybody will get killed because they have resources, they have soft landing spot, you know. But I would say this is not a privilege for everybody. Not everybody have such privilege to do this without the safety net. And everybody need to just do your own assessment whether you can do it, whether your family needs you, whether
Yeah.
your own you can actually support yourself even if something happen your family won't get affected and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it really depends. When you're saying that someone just wants to take the leap, like what Shiyong was saying, if they still have their job, then sure, why not? What's the worst going to happen? You still have your job, you still have income, no problem. If you fail, it fails. But if you're talking, like he mentioned, like if you're talking about going all in and you quit your job and you have kids, you're married, you've got commitments, you have bills to pay and everything, I wouldn't recommend anyone to jump into that without having a plan. I think it's so important to have a plan A and a plan B, because nothing pans out the way you intend it to. I think you ask any founder what they started with and what they are like years later, completely different or just took a different path. But that's the exciting part. But you have to be ready for it. And so you need to plan to a certain degree. I don't think you have to plan so extensively. It's based on character and persona, on how deep you want to plan, but you have to have a fallback. And I think most people do, in a sense whereby they're not fresh graduates, so they have experience and they were good at their previous job. You can always go back to corporate. You can always, it's always going to be that. That's never going to go away. So I think that's good for people to know. If they've been always wanting to be an entrepreneur, but they're too scared to take the leap, you know you can always go back. And one day you're going to have kids and all, you're going to have much bigger commitments. It's going to be much harder for you to take the leap. So once you're, able to not have as many commitments, do it now. While that passion and all that is still very raw, but have a fallback plan, whatever that may be. Like mine and Shi Yong's was different, right? So whatever that may be for you, but I think nobody should ever go head first.
without
um,
understanding.
it's very rare to survive that.
Both you and John
Yeah,
share the same sentiment. I guess it's always good to have plan A, plan B, plan C, but not to forget in the startup ecosystem, which is very hostile, you definitely need plan D, E, F, G,
exactly.
all alphabets
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
26 all together. It will happen, right? The
yeah.
fast five
Yes,
you
plan can
get it.
change.
By the way, we do have people in Clubhouse wanted to say something. I've got two guys here which we have admitted, Ari and Vignes. I think Vignes came earlier. Yes, Vignes, please unmute yourself. Go ahead and ask a question, or you wanted to share something with us.
Hey, hi everyone. First of all, I think going back to the question of age and startup, uh, because I'm like 50 plus into this. I think it goes back to attitude again. Some of us have been exposed to multinational for many years, so I think the beauty of getting somebody with age on their side and experience is the experience that they can bring to the table. Imagine somebody who has run, financial services, a few other things for 20, 30 years, and they are coming in at, let's say, a price that you have, negotiated, let's say 5K. You are getting 20, 30 years of experience for a bargain, and I think that's where the value comes in. Obviously, the other person must also agree, work on, some KPIs together and have the same drive. But I think it should not be just discounting somebody because, they have an MNC background or the older segment. I think we can bring a lot of value at much lower prices, which is hard to get elsewhere. That's one. And two, I think people who made commitment to go into a startup, they know the limitation. It's not some multinational pumping in millions. It's the investors' money, and we need to be careful, and there's only so much we can spend. So I think we are always aware of that. So It's getting the balance between the two, but you should not discount somebody with a lot of experience because I think it can help you to scale up much faster. That's my view, lah.
Thank you, Witness. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah. Can you, if you don't mind, to put yourself to mute again because I think there is some white noise behind. All right. Witness, I know you can't see us, but I'm looking at our YouTube channel. Abang Amir is smiling all the way to his ears. I can see Team Abang Amir here. Oops, Jesrina. Sorry, not sorry, Jess.
No, thank you so much, Vignes. I mean, like I said to Amir, like I agree that attitude is important. Like, unfortunately, my experience was like you said, balance, and I completely agree. And I think my experience was there wasn't that balance. As in, these
Okay.
people came in. I want to join the startup because I have this whole, people paint a picture of how glamorous being part of a startup is and whatnot. And it's such a trendy thing and so on. And they love health and wellness, so they want to do it. But deep down, how badly do you want to do it? Are you willing to really go for the lowest pay kind of pay grade and whatnot and so on, and build this up together and do every menial task that maybe things you don't like to do but is needed in a startup? Are you ready for this? And unfortunately, they weren't. None of them were. They say they are, but once they're in it, they're not. So that's the thing. They say they are in interview, they know how to say the right things, that when they're in it, they're not ready and they want higher pay. They're willing to take pay cut maybe in the beginning. And then 3-4 months later, I'm not even talking about a year later, 3-4 months later, okay, now I want closer to the salary that I used to get and whatnot. And we can't, we're a startup. So I think what I'm trying to share is from my own experience, unfortunately, of what I went through multiple times. It wasn't one person, it was many. And it's also, I think, a disclaimer was that this was at the very early stage. And I'm talking about like when you're not even a year old. Why do you need super senior people at that time? You're still figuring out your business. When you're ready to really scale, yes, bring in the senior people. They can really bring in a lot, and you can give them the pay that they deserve as well, even though it might be less than what they got in corporate, but they deserve to get higher pay. They've got all the experience and whatnot. So I think it's a matter of timing, and it's a matter of also attitude and the balance between the two. Yeah.
With an
If
exception, Dustin
yeah,
Hoffman. He worked for free for Anne Hathaway in the intern, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, if I can get a
So,
free
okay.
intern like that, I don't mind. It doesn't
All
come with
right.
the high price of the others.
Well,
yeah, if I can
what
add on to that, right? Perhaps we are thinking about more on the inventor mindset rather than the executor. So, by looking at, let's say, somebody have, years of experience in the MNC, but their work is purely on the execution of the task, like making sure the process is right, everybody actually, get their job done. Then perhaps that, I would say, is not super helpful in a very early stage. Why? Because we are still figuring out. We actually wanted to make things happen. We want more like, creative ideas because, from our experience, people come in, they say, hey, I can help you to get, 50,000 members in the short times and things like that. But then they ask about, so do you have the budget? And we ask how much you need. So, they are too used to using resources to get things done. But in the very early stage, we actually wanted to find creative way to get things done rather than, just spend money. So I think that is something very early stage startup we should actually look at, like what kind of what kind of attitude or what kind of person we can bring into the team to make things happen rather than execute things.
nice, good point.
Yeah.
Staggering thought. Thank you, Shiyong. Thank you, Jess. Yes. Now we have Ari, who we have granted access in Clubhouse. Hi, Ari. You have anything to say to us?
Uh,
Share with us.
Hello, hi everyone. Right, I just have one question regarding on the super seniors people
Again,
that we've gone
yes,
to.
the super
Yes,
senior
yeah.
thing. I like it. So you are
Sorry?
Team Abang Ami or Team Jesrina?
No, 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 no. I mean, it's very general questions. Are we okay that we're going to hire someone with the good connections, with the good good connecting with the people or investor or buyer or whatever it calls, which is actually can bring revenue to the company. And talking about the attitude, when you open on interviews, which is actually you can't see at first place how this guy is gonna behave like 1 or 2 years when he is in my company. But sooner or later you will know like, oh, I don't like this guy because of the attitude. Or are you going to hire someone which is actually like for ages to become someone, to become a super senior staff or boss or whatever in your company.
Did we
But
lose him?
Hello.
as a startup, second.
Oh, sorry. I think you got cut off
Hello.
at one
Yeah,
point.
you cut off. Yeah. What was your last
Oh
sentence?
really? Hello, is it okay?
Yes. Now we
Oh,
got you back. Yeah. Go ahead.
okay. Okay, is it when you open for interview, so you really don't know what is actually their attitude at first place. It's maybe after 1 or 2 years like, okay, I don't like this kind of attitude. But this guy really can bring a revenue to your company because a better connections. I mean, this guy is really good in business or whatever. So how you look into that? I mean, compared to the attitude that we talking. I mean, a couple of speakers that talk about the attitude.
Can I jump in before you guys jawab?
Oh,
Boleh,
please, sir,
boleh,
please.
boleh. Go
No,
ahead.
what you described is not peculiar to seniors, mind you. It's anyone for that matter, right, guys? Okay,
Oh,
now you
Yeah.
can boleh
Yes,
jawab.
agree.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but just actually it's general lah, Abang Amir.
True, true. What I'm saying is, it's not a senior punya issue. It's any employee that when you to bring, you're gonna have those issues anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry, Shiong and Jesrina.
Xiong, to respond to that? Yeah.
Okay, I would say there is no foolproof interview. That is for sure. But there are some ways you can basically find some clue, some visual clues, how they answer questions, how you ask the questions. I think those can kind of bring out certain way they do things. Of course, don't ask the common questions like, "Oh, what is your strength or your weakness?" That kind of thing. You should ask something more into how they handle conflicts, uh, are the previous biggest mistake they have made and how they resolve it. So all those kind of questions can basically allow you to understand him or her more. So yeah, in terms of how this person works, and yeah, I think interview there's no foolproof, but we can kind of improve it. And like you mentioned, if this person is a superstar, can bring in revenue and a lot of connections to the company, I would say if let's say you are just first started, maybe you can still leveraging or working with this guy. But if your team is big, but this guy can bring in revenue but have a very very bad attitude, if I'm you, I won't keep him or her because that will basically kill the whole team. Yeah, so we need the team to work, not one superstar that like hold you uh like a hostage. Yeah, we don't want that.
I think the point here is despite you are senior or despite your value of bringing in connections, who you are connected with, there is no me in this team in any startup. There is only us, right? Based on your experience for the past 5 or 6 years, it's always us. It's always a team instead of a me or a superstar.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ari, for the question. Abami, you wanted to add something still?
No, not
Ada?
really. I think I agree with everyone actually. It's a question of luck. It's a question of timing as well because obviously if you just started today, you cannot bring in and pay very high. And when you're starting, there are issues about trying to get directions and how you work at it. Once you have that planned out, then you can start figuring the skill sets you need, right? So I think all this will come in
Mm.
play. It's a question of how to move along.
All
Yeah.
right. This is seriously an interesting thing to debate further. We have gotten Harith who wanted to say something, but hold on sekejap, Harith. Speaking of which, we have actually talking about having a senior person in the team. So does this means to run a startup is only for youngsters? It
No.
would be intimidating for those, I would say at least Gen X, those who were born in the 70s, who are 45 and above today. So they are not encouraged to do a startup.
No, no, no. If
Oh,
you are a founder, it's
disclaimer,
very
disclaimer.
different. If you are a founder, you will treat it like you'll do everything to make it work. So I'm not talking about founders. I'm talking about when you just started the company, why do you need someone with 30 years experience that you need to pay a decent salary to? Because you should, they deserve it as well. You can't afford it. You haven't even figured out your business model yet. You haven't even reached that stage to really scale the growth of the company. Why do you need someone of that level at that stage? And they're also not going to be ready to pull the weight that you need. You know, there's going to be a misalignment of expectations because they've never been in a startup before. And you're the founder. So you're going to do everything, sweeping the floor, whatever's needed, right?
Yep,
They're not.
yep.
And a lot of them are not going to, you know, like they're going to say, this is not what I signed up for. And so that's more of what I see. But when it comes to starting, anyone can do it. And, you know, it depends on if you found a problem that needs to be fixed, you have the passion, the determination, and perseverance. You can do it. There's no age boundary there. It's more, I'm talking more about hiring employees at a super early stage in your business.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just add to what Arya is
Good
saying?
disclaimers.
Just what he was asking about how can you tell? Because interviews, some people just they totally nail the interviews. They're just amazing at it. But then in actual fact, you know, when it comes to doing the work and whatnot, I think one thing that I've picked up is if because you don't want someone toxic. The worst thing is to bring someone toxic who will affect the whole culture of the company and the happiness of the company and bring everyone down, no matter how good they are and bring in revenue and stuff like Yong said. One thing I've noticed is a good red flag is if they ever say anything negative about their past career in terms of the employers that they've worked with. Either it's their boss or the company, anything negative that they didn't like about it, already to me, that's a red flag. You can already sense the character. Like it shouldn't be brought up in an interview in that way. You can talk about challenges in a different way, but not in a negative like yeah. So that's something that I've seen very clearly as a warning sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Things to note, founders, for those who were actually born to be interviewee champions, but they
Oh,
do
and also
well
check
at getting interviews.
references, like not the references that they put in their resume, because of course those are going to be the amazing references, but social media, LinkedIn, you can see people that they know. Find deep dive people that they used to work with and find out more. That's the best way to know.
Cool. All right. Tips
Good
and tricks.
tips.
Nice. Harith, go ahead. In Clubhouse,
Okay.
Harith, yeah.
So
You guys
I
should there.
think this is just another side of spectrum. Just to share, like for us, we specialize in manufacturing of wood products, and the products that we do are typically not being done here in Malaysia. So we are somewhat, in a way, pioneering the industry. So when we have problem getting carpenters to work with us, I mean, like it's not carpenters, but some of them even though they are experienced, but they cannot do what we're doing. So what happened is we end up being frustrated with them. So what we have been doing is creating a funnel of young talent. So they started off as interns, and we have a program after that, like after the interns, now we have apprentices. So we get to see how, I mean, like their attitude and progress within few months, then we can decide to absorb. So that's why we have been doing it for a few, like maybe like more than 10
Sorry,
years.
Harith, can you speak up or put the phone nearer to your mouth?
Okay, sorry,
You
sorry.
sound a bit of a distance.
Yeah, so um, what I'm trying to say right now, every year we train around 10 to 15 interns every 6 months. So that is how you get the pool of talent that is going to be the next generation. So I agree that you cannot really tell their attitude based on interview, but you need to have few months. And for us, it's about getting this pool of younger generation, and then we can train and see their attitude.
Thank you, Haris. Thank you so much. So the younger generation counts. We cannot discount them as well. But definitely the older version, no, not older version. It was so wrong. Sounded so wrong. So sounded so wrong. Older version pula. The
Experience
elderly
never grow old.
experience table group.
Okay,
I slip off a tongue. I'm so sorry, Abami.
no problem, no problem.
Actually, earlier Jesrina did mention a word that triggered me. She did say something about the word influencer and followers. So nowadays, the current generation, we live in a social media world, and in cross sector, all industry, it seems like having many followers counts. And even for your case, Jesrina, you have like, hold on, let me do a quick check. In your IG, I think in your IG you do have, don't tell me, about 16,000 followers on Instagram. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Train of thoughts. Does this really matters in startups as a founder, in business related, social media, influencers, followers, in
Mm.
both cases, Yong and Jesrina, does it even matter?
I think it really depends on you and your business. I think in our field, like we are a D2C, we're direct to consumer. Not every company is going to be D2C. So for if you're D2C, yes, social media is very important. It is the main way now of communicating with the community, regardless of age, whether you're talking to the what's the youngest generation now? I forget. I lose track of Gen Y, Z, X. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
millennials nowadays, iPhone 5,
So yeah, so
whatever.
regardless if it's like the Gen Z or whether you're talking to, your parents or your grandparents age, regardless, everyone's on social media, just different channels of social media, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. They're on different channels, but they're all online now. And the pandemic has changed everything. Everyone's gone
Yeah.
digital. People who don't know how to use computers and all that, they're using it now ever since the pandemic. So I would definitely say if you're a D2C, you definitely need to be on social media. But do you, as a founder, need to have a strong following and so on? You don't necessarily have to. In fact, when I started PurelyB, I didn't have a strong following per se, but what I did was I had a very targeted following because when I got very passionate about health and wellness, everything I was posting was to do with wellness. And it was documenting my journey in improving my health through my diet and so on. And it attracted people who are interested in that, and those are the people who are engaging in my content. So when I started PurelyB and started talking about it, they started following it in return. So and I very much am my brand. Like I represented it so much because it was my own journey as to why I felt the need to create PurelyB. So I feel that if that is your founder journey, and that is similar to you, then I think it does matter. It's not about the amount. It's not about the amount of followers. It's about the quality of the followers. Like how targeted are they to what you are doing in your business and your purpose in leading to that. So that's more of what I would say. Don't focus on the number. The number is not important.
Cool. I've been having this chat with my friends. I think like 2 weeks ago, we were actually hovering over resumes,
Mm.
and it's so cute to see in one or two lines. It says that I'm a very good user of social media, Facebook and IG. I have 200,000 followers here and there. It's like what?
Wow.
It's in their CV nowadays. It's so interesting and so cute. Anyhow, Young, what to you?
But I have to say
Yeah.
though, most of our sales and our users was all through social media. That's how we built our brand. That's how we built our company. So social media is the core of our business. But that's our business, and it's not going to apply necessarily across the board for everyone else.
Yeah, depends so much on the industry and which sector
Yeah,
you are in, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Young, you have the same train of thoughts like Jesrina?
I will say, as a startup, normally we do not have the spokesperson, and the founders is actually the spokesperson of the startup. So I would say followers, number of followers, I agree with what Jesrina just said. Number of followers doesn't matter. And in fact, a lot of us is, when you are into the business, when you are sharing, you are engaging with your customers, your participants in our case, you get more followers, you get more people, they wanted to know us, wanted to know you personally, what you are doing for the business, what is your vision, or actually, I mean, in our case in BiiB, a lot of runners, they are so happy to see us growing. So they are like, following us, following our journeys. When we got some minor successes, they actually feel happy for us. And let's say my own, let's say Facebook friends and things like that, they are kind of like give the face to the brand itself. Of course, I'm not the official spokesperson, but people can actually know more about BiiB through me, like how I express it, how I love running and things like that. So my story somehow linked back to BiiB, and I would say this is like a symbiosis kind of relationship. We help each other. I'm helping the brand. And again, because I'm into BiiB, I'm building BiiB, I get more friends as well, and these friends, they are our users, they are our communities members. And
Cool. Thank you. I would love to hear from Team Ami. Your views about me, Team Abami, your views on these millennials and so forth, in the digital era of TikTok, social media, Facebook, and IGs. Abami, you're muted. You're muted in Clubhouse. Okay.
Sorry, I have to admit this is one area I've always had issues with. I don't even know how to describe Gen Z now. So I don't know. But I have a daughter who's an expert, and she explains to me.
Hmm.
Now, some things I guess are changing. We no longer sell face to face. We no longer meet clients, and I think especially for startups looking to expand, all right, I think technology, especially social media, is one of the ways you can scale up. All right, so the short answer is yes, we should be looking into this and how to maximize. Regardless whether you have a lot or little followers, what matters is are those followers your potential buyers, right? Of your services or products. So, and I think there are techniques of tapping into uh, this this market space. I would call them, and I actually attended one program two, in fact, that teaches how to leverage on other people's followers. Very interesting techniques. I don't know whether they're ethical. I haven't thought about that. But hey, you need to reach out. You need to reach out, right? So yeah, I think so. And you'll be surprised. I think PurelyB would probably have gotten a lot of interesting experience in this area, where you get people from out of nowhere, almost like from Timbuktu, uh, getting to want your products, right? BiiB, I believe, would probably be using this a lot. I think this is how you want to grow. It's no longer talking to your neighbors anymore or your organizations anymore. It has to be, hey, let's find out how you can spread this to the world. I think you can and create a cult, in fact, for BiiB, if only you know how to access and reach out using this social media. So yes, I will give it a thumbs up. Let's look at social media. SOMAC, they call it. SOSMAC. The first time
So,
I heard that was from an Ustad, and I asked, hey, apa itu SOSMAC? Look, an Ustad had to tell me, what a SOSMAC is. All right, sorry.
I had that problem as well, Abami. The first time I encountered the word sauce mac, I ingat it's like chili sauce ke apa ni. It's like, what sauce macam.
So,
So,
so, so you're not as young as I thought you were, right?
I'm 29, 29 by the way.
Still so young.
All right. I would like to.
I just wanted to add that I think why it's so powerful now, social media and influencers, as they call it. Everyone's an influencer in some way or form, regardless of their following count, right? Depending on the topic that they're most passionate about, is that people trust people. People don't trust brands. That's just how it is now. And so that's what social media is, other people advocating your brand. And that's actually a key part that helped PurelyB in growing our community and being able to sell our products and whatnot. And it really is true. Like, you can't just build the brand on social media. You have to have people advocating it, real life people who are very authentic and true to what your brand is all about.
Okay, now
I, I,
now the ethical aspect comes in. Okay, I'll throw you a question, Jess.
Sure.
Would you just sell to through the social media to followers who really want to get your benefits, or some people are just doing it because others are? And I think that is one of the aspects I worry about in social media. Just because their idol is actually using it, they want to use it, all right? Or just because it's like you're trying to keep ahead of your neighbors concept.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so to answer that, I can't speak for other brands because there's some brands that I don't think are good quality at all, and I don't think some celebrities or influencers should be advocating them
Yep.
to their followers. But when it comes to PurelyB, we're all about the quality and the standards and
Okay.
make sure it's the utmost natural, no harmful ingredients for people's health and has been tested and proven and so on. And so for me, of course, I want more people to access it. But on the other hand, we don't pay influencers, we don't pay celebrities. We've never gone down that route. So any influencer, so everything I'm saying right now that has grown our community has all been organic. They naturally, authentically, genuinely want to talk about it because of their own experience with it. And for
Yep.
me, that's what I want the most. And I think people can see that. And that's why they can see that this is not a paid endorsement. This is actually their real experience. And yeah, so that's sort of how we've been doing it with a lot of the community members, micro influencers, macro influencers. It's just sort of, they really want the product. For some of them who have trouble having it, we will give it to them. They love it. They can post about it. There's never been any request or obligation on any end, and they just choose to do it on their end. Yeah, but I do agree about the ethicalness. I've seen that happen with some other brands, and I think that that's really important for customers to do their own research as well. Don't just take the word of it. If you see someone promoting it, you have to check what are the ingredients. I think number one is check the ingredients in the product. If it's an ingredients based product, and you'll know for yourself.
how about services-based products, Yong, like yours, for example, BiiB? There's no product; it's services purely.
Yeah. So, of course, like what Abang Amir say, they are the ethical issue in there. But I would say all this will be, coming back to the point whether this product is for them and this product is really, I would say, giving benefit. Because, if let's say we are saying something more like something that consumable, then of course people might eat the wrong things, eat something harmful for them. But on our side, because our service is more like promoting health and wellness, promoting people to be active. So I think there's no harm, but we always, I mean, we like to warn our participants, don't go overboard, don't go too hard, because that will actually hurt you. Instead of like running 5 kilometers a day, you go full marathons for 3 days, then that is actually not good. So we always need to be very careful how to, not saying provoke, but we want to encourage people to be active, but don't push them until they break down. So I think just need to be right at the point, getting non-active people to be active, active people allowing them to inspire others around them to be active. I think that is our goal. not like pushing them to go like, train to become an elite or train become, they don't eat or don't sleep. So I think those are our own kind of limitation. We don't go overboard. We just make sure it works. Yeah.
Now what you're
Sorry,
mentioning.
Xiong.
Sorry,
Xiong.
Abami, go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to stretch this a bit. Actually, I see yours quite straightforward as opposed to having a product like PurelyB when you talk about these things, right?
Mm.
But if we just think about the communities you're creating, right?
Yeah.
And you're creating these communities and giving them ability to communicate or whatever like, through your apps. There is also a risk, not say risk. I think there's also a responsibility for you to make sure that your clients, those people who actually on your communities, are not only aware of what you just said, which is good. Make sure they don't go overboard. So the science, the what do you call that, the encouragement or discouragement for certain things is clearly explained to them so that they become your real follower. But there is also this issue about can your website be, or rather, can your app be abused by, I don't know, at one time everybody was worried about pedophiles. It's just stretching it, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's also a responsibility for us to make sure that our clients are safe in whatever way or form. So
Yes.
I think we need to be having our pulse on everyone who are on your website or app. So that's what I'm alluding to. Just a comment. For
Yes.
purely B, I have a nasty experience. I would say not nasty, not your product. Sorry, just not your product.
Thank you for that disclaimer.
I haven't tried, so that's why my hair is still white. Anyway, I had the opportunity to meet someone my wife introduced to me who was promoting the use of spirulina. Right, it's a specific product, and the
Yeah.
person is actually a well-educated person in this area, and he's an
Okay.
expert. But he was promoting a product, right? And when my wife started using it as a supplement, there were rashes coming up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the natural reaction is, oh, your body's working. I heard this from Jesrina. I think not the first time. The people selling this sort of things will say,
Not
don't throw it
rash.
yet. Not.
Rashes isn't normal.
Oh, hold on. I understand. No, I'm just saying,
Got
this
it.
particular person actually
Right.
said, don't stop. It's probably your body reacting to it. All right, continue for one more week. The rashes didn't go away. So I stood to my wife and said, look, your body's not accepting it, consider giving it away to someone who can make good use of it, right? Later, I have hobbies, right? And one of them was actually what do you call that? Rearing um, freshwater. We call it freshwater lobsters, lah, but they are actually crayfish. They're Australian crayfish. I reared them in a pond in front of my house, and you know, harvest and eat them. And my wife had those rashes. Then automatically I remembered the spirulina because spirulina is actually algae based. They are from algae.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So it was obvious my wife had allergies. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine if she just continued using it? And if she starts continues to use the product just because her friends are using it, or the doctor was no, sorry, the promoter was sweet talking her into not giving it up, I don't know what the consequences could be. So that's the part which
I
I
think,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think we need to be ethical enough to worry about users rather than trying to push a product.
I
You know what I'm
completely
saying?
agree. I
Yeah.
think you have to remember, why are you doing that product in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, that person was a health expert. You care about people's health. So you won't push a product unnecessarily just to make money, would you? Like, you're not a businessman first. Your mission is to take care of that person's health. So that's very questionable in that sense, unless, I think, because I don't know the full picture, is that it is true, a lot of people will have allergic reactions to different things, and it's very hard to know because they themselves don't know that they might be allergic to a certain herb, for example. So you yourself, and so for example, for us, like, we have a lot of customers, potential customers come to us and say, I'm on certain medication. Can I take Pagaga by PurelyB? And even though it's natural, herbal, and all that, but for us, we don't know if you mix it with a medication that's
Yeah.
been prescribed by a doctor, what the reaction would be. So our first thing we always say is consult your doctor. That's what we always say. So for me, it's like we take precaution where we can, and you, as a consumer, need to ask as well. You don't just buy straight away, with, no matter how natural and so on it is, if you are on certain medication. But if you're just a completely perfectly healthy person, of course, you're just going to buy a superfood supplement because it's not a medication and it's natural. And if you consume it and you react in some way, like maybe you get rashes, so on, then you have to inquire about it. And like for us, if someone, like I mentioned, like they have a bit of diarrhea and whatnot because it's got the detox effect, we will tell them that this is natural, but it wouldn't last for long. So please, and reduce the dosage. Let us know how you feel within a week. And if they had told us it is still going on, then we will tell them stop taking it then. Your
Good.
body doesn't agree with it.
Good.
But so far we haven't had any situation where continuously it happened. So they normally ask in the beginning and then they don't ask again anymore. So for me, I think it's just about taking those precautions because it happens all the time with these products. Skincare, health, supplements and all that. Some people will have allergic reactions that they themselves didn't know about. And so this is the only way to go about it as a business, to make sure that you cover all ground, and as a consumer to make sure that you always ask and don't just continue taking the product thinking that it's fine. So I think that's important. But I think it's also important to research about the brand and the product. Like this spirulina, like where did he source it from? Right? Like, yes, he's a health expert, but did he grow it in a farm? Is it his farm that he grew it on? Like all these, what are the certifications and what sort of tests have been done? I think all that's really important. And companies are normally very transparent. Like we're very transparent about all of that. So I think do the research there as well, so you have peace of mind as a consumer.
Maybe you could also do an education, what do you call that, program, because a lot of people are thinking, if it's natural, it's good. Uh,
Yeah, not necessarily.
I would say, well, Sharul asking you, are you taking weed? WEED? That's natural, right? So
Uh,
No.
does that mean you're good? Okay, just a
Yeah,
comment.
no,
Sorry.
natural. I mean, natural is obviously better than not the non-natural ingredients. But your body, everybody's body is different.
Different.
So you
Yes.
may react to it that someone else may have like an amazing health benefit from it. So that's the only thing that you just need to be aware of. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
all right. Well, to my defense, I didn't say, "Are you taking weed, Abami?" I was clarifying the weed part. Was it WEED or WHEAT weed?
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I
All
pull my
right.
leg. All right, intermission. Thank you for those who have just joined us in Clubhouse. Welcome. Tonight, we have both founders from PurelyB, Jesrina Arshad, as well from BiiB, Yong Tan, speaking about entrepreneurship, founder stories, telling both Jesrina and Yong sharing their journey with us. If you guys have any question to ask, if you would like to participate in the chat, feel free to hit on the palm button on your Clubhouse screen at the bottom, and we'll invite you to speak and participate with us. Yeah, and the session tonight is also streamed live via Pixelplay Ventures YouTube channel. If you're unable to listen it via Clubhouse, feel free to go to YouTube, go to Pixelplay Ventures channel, and there's a video which is live ongoing now. Subscribe to us, and if you need to ask question, do post in the comments, and we'll be picking it up. Okay, can I pivot the discussion a little bit different now? Since I like this combination, we have male and female, Jasrina and Shiong. All right, the keyword is gender biased. Uh, Jasrina, as part of your social impact goals, you have highlighted gender equality to be one of it, right? And being a female entrepreneur yourself, what are your thoughts about the scene in the startup ecosystem of Malaysia? Do you think we have enough number of female founders?
I have to admit I don't know the actual number currently, but if I base it on what I can see in terms of like community groups and physical events when before COVID, when we had physical events and so on, it definitely is still very predominantly male skewed. But the number is getting better, and there are more women in the startup space as founders or even joining in the teams and whatnot. I think now, today, it's a very different landscape than it was when I started back in 2015. 2015, it was very obvious. I would go to Rise conference in Hong Kong, which you guys know is the largest tech conference in Asia, and you could just see and count the number of women that you would see there, and it was just thousands of men. And it was interesting to see how that evolved over the years. I think the whole startup sort of trajectory was around the 2014, 2015 sort of period, maybe, right? And so that was the start. And now I think that there's a lot more opportunities, and there's a lot more, I would say, guidance for women founders, and more confidence for women founders to want to take that leap and know that they can. I think what prior to this, from what I had seen, was that there was perhaps um, self-doubt of women not thinking that they're able to compete in the tech space that was so heavily male dominated and favored. So if you're talking about VCs, I mean, you guys know this as venture capitalists, the percentage of startups that get funded that are women founded versus male founded, like, it's still such a huge disparity, right? And
So it was
still
a
is.
it was a challenge for you for the past 6 years, and
Yeah.
it is still. Yeah.
It still is. It still is. And I have to say, because you're pitching to a lot of, I mean, I'm sure things are different now, but, I would say when we were starting out, you're pitching to a lot of VCs. So yes, they think wellness is important, but they cannot feel the pain points the way the women do when it is because for us it's like the women wellness sort of pain points, and they cannot feel it for themselves. They can't feel the pain for themselves, so to them it's not as big a problem. So when you're trying to sell something that's more targeted towards women and pitching it to a male VC, back then, it was very challenging. And it took for us to find the right investors who could really, really believe in us, who were male, by the way. So our investors were male. But it's just more challenging than my male counterparts when I compare and see. Like, if you're talking about like comparison your traction and all of that, like, we're pretty much on par, but it's easier for them to get funding. And even my friends in the US, like, I think it's even worse there. I think in Asia we have it better. I actually think it's more equal here than it is in the US. I think the US, that whole bro culture is so much stronger in Silicon Valley and whatnot than it is in Asia. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, I think the ecosystem for women founders is so much stronger now, the support system. And I think that has made a difference as well.
Okay, I'll pause you there. Going on to Xiong. Do you agree that it has been smooth sailing for men all this while?
Not smooth
O-
sailing. I didn't say smooth
Of course
sailing.
not. Yeah,
There was
so
a bit of whining there earlier, so you
of
can count
course.
later, Jess.
It's
Xiong, what say you?
easier for men than the women.
To be honest, I try to believe we are moving into the right directions, like getting more equals, and many efforts are actually in place to actually push this towards equality. And even in sports, like, a lot of time, I would say in our own events, we don't basically separate men's and women's. We don't actually treat them differently under different category, because we want this like a community things to be non-biased. We don't want like only women can join this category or only men can join this category and things like that. We actually want measure it differently so that everybody feel comfortable to be part of it. Yeah, that's what we do.
But for the journey of your startup for the past 5 years, being a man yourself, do you find difficulties in approaching VCs, in terms of facilitation by the government, by corporates, events or platforms provided by this ecosystem in Malaysia at the very least for men entrepreneurs as compared to women? Do you find it more accessible? I would say, yeah.
I don't think so because I mean it's been quite hard for us, a very difficult journey. So I don't see I got any advantage from it, or because I'm male. So yeah, I don't feel that. Yeah, perhaps men actually get harsher for another man.
Or perhaps we are just being ignorant,
I
you
do
know?
I do have one comment in regards to that, is that I think one advantage that women have in being the minority is that you stand out more. So I do recognize that you have that advantage. So if you stand out, then you have the opportunity to make your pitch and make your stand and make your business known and know your numbers like back to front and everything. And I think that it does open up that window because like I mentioned at Rise conference, right? And we're showcasing our business amongst others who have their own booths. And if you're in a sea of men and there are two booths with women, like clearly they are going to stand out. You know what I mean? And no, what I
Yet
Positively.
when,
still be ethical, yeah?
no. What I'm saying is stand out in a sense whereby like it's going to be more difficult for men, in a sense of, you know what I mean, right? Like you're talking about a numbers game,
Mm-hmm.
and you have 10 men enter a room and they're all pitching like similar things because women in our businesses are always going to be women based venture, women based pain points usually, and it's going to be very different to what our male counterparts are going to. So we're going to be very different and unique, so we will stand out. So you got to use that opportunity that you're different, you're unique. So make that opportunity to really sell and pitch and know your numbers and prove that you deserve to get that funding or get that opportunity. So that's something I feel now I see happening more. Women are taking that stand because there's more confidence to do that because there's a much stronger ecosystem and support system to lift them up that way.
Abame, I can see you are smiling and you are actually smirking. Any comments? You're muted still
You
again,
said,
Clubhouse. Yeah, all right.
Sorry, I've got a couple of comments really. I never for once believed that in a country like Malaysia has got gender bias, period. Simply because if you look at the way we have been, how we were brought up, right? You look at even in schools, right? Uh, we have more women or girls, for example, in universities. We have the girls excelling. There's no bias in terms of no man should be given better chance or what, none whatsoever. And I agree with Jesrina. In the Western world, I think there has been a lot of issues relating to bias rather than anything else. So the question I have is really, what is the issue, right? Now, I have been on boards, public company boards, way back in the 90s, when they were trying to promote more women participation on boards. The issue wasn't that there were bias or anything else. It's just there were not enough women who were qualified. Qualified in the sense that they want to become a board member. So the drive was really trying to encourage women to become board members, not about please give women a chance. No. So and it hasn't changed until today. Uh, but right now we see the authorities trying to correct this. The authorities are putting in guidelines as to board composition. They say you should try for 30%. Right now, they're trying to hit for 50% independent with more women. All right, and I'm also involved in the Institute of Corporate Directors. Uh, if I look at the list, there are more women. Seriously, there are more women members in corporate director in that association, and of course the senior ones they're less. That one I really admit is is about 25% if I remember the last number I saw. But the new ones, there are more women trying to apply and become a corporate director. So that's a good sign. when it comes to VCs, hey, there are quite a lot of successful VC women and angels. I'm sure you have met quite a number of them, Jesrina. And I don't think when women, what do you call that, startups, women-led startups pitch, uh, they feel, I don't think there is a bias so that they'll give preference to the male. I doubt it. It's just that they're not enough. So this is something which I hope everybody thinks about. So if you are not successful at a pitch, is it really because you're a woman? I hope the attitude should be, I didn't do it well enough, rather than I'm a woman, that's why I wasn't chosen. All right. So I may be wrong, but the attitude, I'm definitely right. All right.
Okay.
And at the same time, I'll tell you an event which still reminds me of how Malaysia and Asia actually grew. And we at that time, I was lucky enough to be in a group. We organized what do you call that, a visit by Vietnamese education to Malaysian education, MOE. And I was surprised that they had this issue about gender bias in their country. I was really surprised. I never thought it happened in Vietnam. At least they thought they had it in their schools. But the interesting part is they threw a question to the Malaysian counterparts and asked, how does Malaysian educators in the MOE tackle gender bias in schools? They were all looking at each other and said, actually, we don't think we have any, right? So I don't know how Vietnam at that time had a gender bias issue, but certainly even at that time, Malaysia didn't have it, right? So that was something interesting. Um, yeah,
So
I
in fact,
guess.
it was
Okay.
never, it was
Can I?
never an issue,
Sorry.
right?
Sorry, you're saying?
No, I mean, in fact, it was never an issue.
It was never. I think the issue really is, why are the women not coming out? That I agree. There are less women. That's obvious. The numbers shows for itself. But the reason for it being so is not gender bias. It's just that the women decides to stay home or do other things. So if you want a more equitable numbers in terms of these things, then the question is, how then do we encourage them to come? All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Just
Simple as
Thank you, Amir. Appreciate your points. I wanted to say a few things in response to that. So one of the things that you're talking about, the board, and that there's not enough qualified women, and then the other part is not enough women taking a stand. And I think the question is, what are the qualifications? Maybe that needs to be reassessed in the new world, no longer the way traditionally things have been done or how boards are selected, because the world is completely changing. So to be able to open it up to more qualified people, we need to relook at what qualified actually means. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, in terms of women not taking the approach to want to apply, I agree, which is why I said now things are better. I mean, there still needs lots of improvement, better than when I first started in 2015, that I can see that women have more confidence. What I saw back in the day was there is lack of confidence. They doubt themselves on whether they can do the job. They may have the qualifications, but they don't take the stand or apply or take the leap or whatnot. So I definitely recognize that. But I've also seen today, especially post-pandemic, when there's been a lot of more, I would say, mental and emotional support in many different aspects, especially when it comes to professional career growth and personal growth, which all come hand in hand, that has really helped support and uplift a lot of women. So I do believe we're going to see a big change there. So the other thing that I wanted to address, where you were talking about VCs, and you're saying that VCs, there's so many women VCs and so on. Yes, I know. I know most of them. But back in 2015, can you name me a single woman-founded VC in Malaysia?
2015, in the VC world there were, but women-led VC belum ada lagi.
Exactly.
Right.
So it sets the tone and the mindset. And as a man, you will say, I don't think there's any biasness. It's subconscious. It's unconscious biasness. You don't realize it. It is just, and it happens. It happens. And I'm not saying, oh, I got so hard. I got funding within 3 months, the first time I ever raised funds. when doing my seed round, and I had no finance background. So I know I had it good in how I got it, right? And I know probably more than some other male counterparts. But at the same time, I also recognize where the disadvantages may be. But I don't think, oh, I didn't get the funding in 1 month instead of 3 months because I'm a woman. I never once ever thought that. I never once thought
Great. Yeah.
because I'm a woman, I've never used that as a disadvantage. But at the same time, I can recognize, I can see clearly what's happening in the industry across Asia, across the world. It is there. It is very, very obvious. But they are working on improving on it because, as I mentioned, it's an unconscious biasness. They're not doing it intentionally. It is not something intended, and it's something they're working on in a sense. And so I've seen that improve greatly. And then, like I mentioned, I had male VCs who invested in me. They were all male-led VCs. But I've seen many women VCs come out more recently because of this problem. SoGal, the first ever millennial female-led VC, was created because they saw not enough opportunities for women, and they only invest in women-founded companies. These VCs would not have come out if there wasn't a problem to begin with. So I think it's important to not brush it aside and acknowledge that, yes, there was a problem. And we're all working together, men and women, to address the problem. But there was a problem.
Yay, go girl.
I agree with you 100%. My only point was the reason for the problem rather than the problem itself. That was my point. Okay.
Yes.
And for Xiong, it just occurred to me. Okay, sorry taking so much time, but I think I have to say this to Xiong as well. Well, it's good that you try not to split, but I think there is a limit to it. I recall an actual event, right? This was wrestling, okay, women wrestlers, and I think this was in a New Zealander, if I'm not mistaken. We have he who became a she, and she competed in a women wrestling championship. Oh, sorry, it wasn't wrestling; it was MMA. Okay, and the result was disastrous. Her opponent died because although she was a transgender, so, okay, she claims to be she, and she qualifies. New Zealand is very open about that. They will actually respect people doing all these things. But when they put her to fight with a woman who is actually physically a woman, she had an advantage because she had the physique of a man, and the opponent died. So I think that is again an extreme case. But I think when you say you don't split them, yes. But if the intention is to keep them together, I suppose as a social event or something like that, yes. But if you want to compete, you have to think about all this because have to be practical and realistic, right?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm agree on that. Yes. So basically, if it's not competing strength to strength,
Yeah.
speed to speed, then we prefer not to split them. Yeah. So because if it's about teamwork, so we don't want the company to split. Or this is woman team, or this is men team. We actually want them to work together. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Coming back to the gender bias thingy that we have been discussing, I mean, not to be draggy about it. During my MDEC days, yeah, there was an initiative that MDEC wanted to pursue. It was called women empowerment. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the theme was women empowerment, right? I'm not too sure whether it was continued, it's still on or not going because I left. Nevertheless, my question is, do we even need such initiative, women empowerment in startup ecosystem, for example? And another example, do we need, for example, you guys are currently going through GMP USA 9-week accelerator program. Do we need a program, 3 months accelerator program solely for women entrepreneurs? Do we even need that? Xiong, Jesrina?
I don't
I
know if
know.
she wants to answer first because I've already been speaking quite a lot about this. So
Uh,
Yong, pick up
Do
first.
we even necessary? Do we need to have it?
I would say why not if there is a good response? Because if there is a good response means there is a demand of it, and this group require or needs attention. So if there's a demand, I would say, yeah, why not? But if there's none, then perhaps something else is going on, like not enough founders. Then we we need to look into the issue like what Abang Amin say. Where is the root cause? What is actually stopping them to do this or stopping them to found a company? So I think it's not about the program. It's more about how we address the problem.
Do we already have such support programs, support initiatives focusing so much in women for startup entrepreneurship? Do you know any?
Not that I know of.
It's in
Like,
Malaysia, but outside they are
Malaysia, maybe
accelerated.
Malaysia, by Cradle, Magic, even MDEC. I don't know. I mean, I've not heard of any. To be
SME
honest,
ada, SME Bank.
SME Bank.
Yeah, they had a program. I think. Well, I bumped into this program. I think this was pre-COVID. They were encouraging women businesses.
oh, is it the
Yeah,
program
yeah.
that provides like a grant or a loan? It's like
And
lady,
support.
SME lady biz or something?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
not only just grant, but
Like,
support.
okay,
So I
okay,
think that there
right.
is
Yeah.
such. I think USMAC has a program, Cheryl.
Yes, they do. Yes, they.
Yeah. So well, maybe we'll bring that up.
I was not inclining to that, but since now you have mentioned it,
But
yes.
So
I
yes,
hope
yes.
to see. I don't know whether we'll see Jesrina in later. Yeah, there is this such program, Pixelplay Ventures with our partner USMAC. It's called Prospera for Women. So it's a 6 months accelerator program, targeting women entrepreneurs only. It's pretty much different from GMP USA.
Yeah.
It's totally different. In fact, it's totally different. Yeah, you. I would say this is a teaser. I wouldn't say more. Uh, we'll let you know more in the near future. But inshallah, yes, there will be a program for women entrepreneurs only. Not being biased, yeah, Jess.
yeah, I know. No, I
It's just
think,
to fill the
yeah,
gap. Yeah, to fill the
agree.
gap.
There is a gap there. And I do think there's a lot that the women can learn from each other because they share similar pain points. And coming together, learning from each other experiences and building that sisterhood bond can make a difference. Because I've gone through a woman entrepreneurship training program before. Not training, it's like a boot camp. And we were sent to Silicon Valley for the boot camp, and it was like women founders from all over the world, and you are just so inspired by them. And it's very different when it is women businesses learning from one another, and because, like I mentioned, they share the same problems in a different way than men do, and in many different aspects of life, whether some of them are mothers and whatnot. And so I think that it just taking that approach helps. But I also think that it's important to ensure that the men are supported if they are also needing that kind, if they, any of them are lacking the support in any ways, to also have those programs for them. So it is still inclusive, but you're addressing what benefit having just a women focused program can do. I've seen so much come out of that. Yeah.
Sure. When we do that program later, I would love to. I would personally definitely invite you to share your experience and
Sure.
participate. And pro bono or payable, we talk later. We can work this out. I
We'll
mean,
talk. We'll talk.
let's pay it forward. Let's build more women entrepreneurs and fill the gaps. I think there's a need for more women founders in Malaysia at the very least. Uh,
I
Obviously,
agree.
lucky or not, when you go into a conference, any events in Malaysia with regards to the startup ecosystem, out of 10, there's only 1 or 2 women founders.
Yeah.
Realistically, that's reality.
Yeah. That's
Why?
why even in I think there's some startup panel talks and whatnot, and it's always male dominated. And I'm in a girls in tech WhatsApp chat group with startup women founders from all over Asia. And they'll pass around like, where are the women on the panel? You know what I mean? Like, and it'll be sometimes because they just don't know who the women are to reach out to them to be on the panel, and or maybe some that they reach out to didn't want to be on it, but it's just not enough in that sense, just
I think
definitely. Yeah.
it's a big question why. But if you were to start talking about it, it will take another hour or so. We
that's
are
a different
already.
conversation.
Yeah, different conversation. Let's do it next time. Yeah, we are already 11 p.m. I'm really sorry. I would have wished Braun could join us. Unfortunately, he's in Malacca now, and where he's located, his internet connection is
Yeah.
really unstable, so he's not able to join us both in Clubhouse as well as the Zoom session. Uh, okay, let's be sharp and let's be American and ISO, write what we do and do what we have written. Say we start 9, finish 11. We start 9, finish 11. Unless you guys want to continue. 11:05 now. It's
Any
okay.
comments from anyone
Yeah, any
from
questions
the
for anyone from Clubhouse, please feel
Clubhouse?
free to raise up your hand. I'll give it another 3 to 4 minutes or so before we close. Or even in YouTube, if you have any comments, key it in and we'll pick it up. Any
I-
questions?
While waiting somebody to ask the questions, let me just add on to the topic just now. I think equality start from all of us. I mean, even in my company, we should actually practice this to promote, give equal opportunity to everybody. And I'm proud to say my team is majority women or ladies. My investor also in majority ladies. So yeah, so I mean, maybe I'm the special case here. So yeah, but I think all of us we should do our parts to actually contribute to this gender equality issue.
Cool. And
You
we do
just
have
you just
Ari on board in Clubhouse. He wanted to say something again. Yes, bro. Yes,
Uh,
Ari.
all right. I don't have any issues about the gender equality.
We are still
uh,
on it. Yes, please.
no. I have a different questions. I just like short and sharp questions. For PurelyB, I guess there's a lot of healthy products in market at the moment. How they work, they have some sort of agents and everything's reseller, whatever. And how PurelyB will position yourself in the next few couple of years. And for BiiB, for non-products stuff, and how can we help you to promote to other parties, to other people's, in order for your brands or whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Ari, for the question. So yes, health and wellness. So many products in the market, so many supplements and whatnot. So we definitely didn't want to be one of many. We were looking at where there was a gap in the market. And where the gap in the market that we saw is, first of all, who's our audience? Our audience who connect with us, they are that modern millennial, digitally connected social media community. And right now, the products that they are buying to do with health and wellness are coming from the West. They are your green superfoods and all those kind of
yeah.
chia seeds, spirulina, and those kind of superfood products. What about our Malaysian tropical rainforest herbs that have been zaman dulu, keturunan, passed down from generations to generations, that are more powerful than your chia seeds and all that? But
Tongkat Ali,
sorry,
right?
Tongkat Ali
Tongkat Ali.
and all that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many herbs, right? And pagaga. So, but this young modern generation do not know about these herbs. If they hear about it, they don't know enough about it, and they definitely don't want to consume it because the first mindset is very bitter. And I have to boil it, I have to grind it, I have to blah blah blah, right? So that's why we saw the gap in the market. Is there anybody who's making this appealing and accessible and easy to consume for this younger modern generation? And are they taking steps to really educate about it? Because you need to do the education first. And because we're an education wellness brand platform first, before we started doing products, we had already built the trust amongst the community to be able to do that. So we have an upper hand already. And then we started creating the products with our health experts and so on. So for us, we address the gap in the market. So what we're doing is that we're a first mover in doing this. So if you look for Pagaga products, you will probably find some from people trying to sell it via WhatsApp or Instagram and all that. But their audience buyers are not our audience. Those buyers don't need trust. They're like, I just buy from anybody. Our buyers are very educated. They're going to research. They need to trust you before they're going to buy, and they will spend a lot of money once they trust you. And so and ours is like that certain age group, that certain kind of audience. And ours will have a very special recipe and remedy that like we don't R&D, like we work with the villagers and the traditional Malay medicine doctors in the villages and whatnot, that it's their recipe from their grandfather, great-grandfather, passed on from generations, and then we preserve it and make it delicious and reinvent it in a way for that modern consumer. So we're doing things very differently to what's available in the market today. So in doing so, in the next few years, we hope to really own the term traditional Asian superfood that nobody's owning or doing right now. So that's sort of what will differentiate us in the market.
Thank you, Jesrina. And Xiong was question for you on how would other startups be able to help market BiiB.
Yeah, so I think sports is actually a very interesting piece in the market because we can basically connect different products, different services together. Imagine if you are watching English Premier League, you see the brands supported the game. It's actually not from the sports industry. You can see car brand, insurance brand, banking, all sorts of products. So how can all, I would say, some of you or businesses help us? I would say very easy. If you see you need the exposure of your brands towards certain market that we are targeting on, yeah, we can always collaborate because sports connects different people together or different businesses together. Um, if your if your target market is exactly those people who love to run, being active, being healthy, I think then you have even more reason to work with us because that is our primary audience and those are the people that are active and they can promote for you if let's say your brands get into their attention. Yeah, so I think yeah, that is the special part about sports. We can always tune and customize things that make it works so that people can either, basically, it's created win-win-win situation. I believe we had that in classes a few days ago. Yeah, so it's to connect participants, sponsors, and the organizers, like how we can provide value to all different parties in one event. Yeah, I think that is basically what we can help, and collaborate with different parties.
I couldn't agree more. Sports unites people. Despite of race, religion, even countries. Just for example, Olympics, right? Everyone go, congregate to a things, in the same location and do things together. So because of sports, without any interest. So yeah, I'm a sportsman myself. Let's not further ado. We have passed our bedtime, most of us. In last few words, with regards to the topic today, founder's journey, your interesting journey so far for the past 5 years, Xiong, you would want to summarize?
Um, okay, so to summarize it, I would say it is a very interesting journey. I myself enjoy the journey very much because that basically allowed me myself to meet different people. I mean, I was lucky to meet my co-founder, my current team, which kind of bring the whole company to the next level. And of course, this is not the end. Perhaps this is just like 1% of the whole journey. And I'm actually very looking forward, to explore more collaboration. And today we met because of BiiB, because of the startup, because of the things that I started 5 years ago. So yeah, basically I'm quite excited to explore what is coming up to us. And for those who are just wanted to consider starting up companies or who have just started, I would say don't give up. You can give up on your idea, but don't give up on your dream to actually do something. You can always navigate your way out. Yeah.
And don't hire elderly people. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I didn't
That
say
was
that.
just a joke. I thought it's just a joke. Thank you, Xiong. Thank you, Xiong. Thank you for those words. Very aspiring. Jesrina, for the past 6 years, your ups and downs, your journey, couple of few words before we end the session.
Yeah, the past 6 years has definitely been a roller coaster, the lowest of lows, the highest of highs. And I think whenever we did go through the lowest of lows, where you just think everything's going to come crumbling, because this is your baby as well. and you put your all into it. So of course, to go through what you consider at the time like a failure, what I never see is as a failure anymore. What I always see is it's such an amazing, like, valuable learning experience that we will never gained otherwise. And in going through these low points in the journey, what I felt was we always came out of it stronger and able to get the business to the point that we wanted and grow to the point that we wanted because we went through that failure or that low point. If we didn't go through that, we could have never gotten to this point. So I think that was something that is a very good motivator. If you're ever going through the hard times, you said, I need to go through this because this is going to get us closer to our dreams and to our goals. So you have to go through those hardships. And I think what's really important is to never lose focus. It's easy to get distracted by a lot of noise and wanting to do too much. And just be very, very focused on what your mission and the foundation of what you're trying to achieve. And don't get pulled down by a lot of, whether it's negativity or failures or whatever that you may be going through. And the way that you can do that, because it's easy to say don't give up, don't let it all get to you and whatnot, but the best way I felt for myself is to always remind yourself, go back to the beginning of what is your purpose. Why did you start the business in the first place? What is your why? You wouldn't have done this and risk so much, give up your job and everything, if your why wasn't powerful enough. It was very, very powerful at the start, and as it goes along and you get dragged down, you forget. So remind yourself, and it's going to keep you persevering and determined to keep going no matter how hard it gets, because you have a purpose as to why you had the business in the first place. So yeah.
Thank you. Please keep it simple and short yet precise. I mean, it's almost sounded like it's a bye-bye message, last few words. This will never end. We will see each other again on Monday. Continues, and you guys will have the chance next week, next Saturday, to discuss with the other two startups. I don't know who's going, whose turn will it be, but we'll know soon. And yep, thank you so much, Shiong. Thank you so much, Jesrina, for your time.
My
Jesrina,
pleasure.
PurelyB, guys. Shiong from BiiB. Abami, thank you for your wisdom. And I do personally apologize on behalf of Ron Palare, my friend, my partner, who couldn't make it today because of technical difficulties. But I guess he was listening all this while. Thank you again, fellow friends, fellow startups from GMP USA Cohort 1. I can still see Sean, Haris, Kais, there, Nick, Benny, Zairi, Eri, and those who are still in Clubhouse. Thank you so much for listening to us. And those who have been watching us via YouTube, Pixelplay Ventures YouTube channel, thank you so much. And for those who would like to do a recap, you can always go to Pixelplay Ventures YouTube channel, subscribe to it so that you'll get notification and you are able to view this 2 hour 18-minute session of Clubhouse tonight, where we feature Jesrina Arshad from PurelyB as well as Shiyong Tan from BiiB. With that, I thank you. Have a good, is it already Sunday? Not yet. Yeah. Have a good Saturday night, guys. Have a good weekend. Thank you so much for your time. InsyaAllah, kita jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Welcome, Salam.
Thank you.
Hey,
Bye-bye. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Everyone, guys. Cheers. Bye.
bye.